Hi, sixth graders. Welcome to a brand new week. I hope you are all doing well. Today is Monday. Our periods are extremely short, so our lessons today will be 2. We're going to go ahead and get started with our book talk. Also today and this week is National Banned Book Week. So earlier in the year, I did a book talk on Ban This Book by Alan Gratz, and it just really talked about banned books and things like that. And banned books are just dangerous because everybody should be able to decide for themselves, or parents should be able to decide for their own kids what is a good book and what is not one that's appropriate for them. But there shouldn't be anyone who says this book is bad for everybody and nobody's allowed to read it. That shouldn't be allowed. So that's why Banned Book Week is celebrated and a thing and things like that, to know that somebody shouldn't be able to decide what kids should read or what adults should read and what they can't read. So all this week, our book talks are going to be on banned books. Some of them I think will surprise you. The first one today is Harry Potter. This one has been banned a lot. Some of the reasons it's been banned is it thinks that it's going to promote witchcraft and wizardry. So people who read it are going to get into witchcraft and Satanism and the occult. So that's why a lot of people thought that this was a bad book. It also has anti-family themes because, Harry's family is not perfect. So that promotes anti-family themes because his aunt and uncle aren't the best to him. He doesn't really enjoy them, but in real life, that is how it goes sometimes. So if you have not read Harry Potter yet, I highly recommend it. I avoided Harry Potter a long time myself just because it wasn't not my type of book. And when I finally read it, I was very, very thankful. So if you have not read the Harry Potter series and you think you're ready for that, let me know and I'll check you out a copy. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to be doing this week. Today we're just going to be reading Boy the Painted Cave for Language Arts and kind of social studies too. Later this week, we're going to be reading another short story in our Springboard book. We're going to be thinking about plot, and that's the things that happen in a story, the beginning, middle, and end, but with a little more detail. And then pretty soon, I'm not sure if it's next week or the week after, we're going to be starting to write our own stories. So we've read several narratives this year. We're going to be starting to write our own narrative coming up here shortly. Okay, and then in social studies, we're going to continue to talk about early civilizations. You guys are going to be working on your own slideshow this week, so that's pretty exciting about different civilizations and things like that, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but about like the early humans, the agricultural revolution, and other civilizations. Okay. All right, so Boy the Painted Cave. Again, we don't have a lot of time today, so we're going to dive right in. We will be finishing Boy the Painted Cave this week. So we are on chapter 15, which starts on page 131. Okay, where we last left off, Graybeard is getting really old and sick, and he's telling Tao that he's going to be the next cave painter. And even though Tao is not a chosen one, he is very talented, and so Graybeard has chosen him. Okay, time for my pre-reading yawn. Sorry about that. Okay. Chapter 15. They walked slowly across the valley with Graybeard leaning on Tao's shoulder until they reached the foot of the limestone cliffs. Here, Graybeard told Tao what to do. Listen carefully, he said, and do as I say. Tao stood quietly, waiting for the old man to catch his breath. He could not believe this was really happening. Go up to the top of the cliffs above the camp and wait, said Graybeard. As soon as darkness comes, climb down the narrow path to the entrance of Big Cave. Graybeard took the deerskin bag from his shoulder. He reached in and pulled out a large seashell filled with tallow. In the center was a peat moss wick. The old shaman's hands trembled as he gave it to Tao. Here is your lamp, he said. Light it from the endless flame and begin your journey into the cave. Even as Graybeard spoke, Tao could feel a cold chill creep to up the back of his neck. He was not a chosen one, yet he would go into the secret cavern. It was the greatest taboo of all. But the old man brushed away Tao's doubts with a wave of his hand. Follow the main tunnel until you come to the place where the passageway divides. Graybeard tapped the boy on the shoulder on the same side as his lame foot. Stay on this side and you will not go wrong. When you reach the secret cavern, it will be deserted. Begin your drawings of the great bulls at once. Tao's mind was filled with 100 questions. So much had happened in so short a time. Graybeard leaned over, stifling a spasm of coughs. Then he straightened up and looked at Tao. Carefully, he draped the deerskin pouch over the boy's shoulder. Here, he said, this is yours now. Inside you will find the graven stones and all the other magic you will need. Tao stepped back, stunned. But Graybeard continued, draw and paint as many longhorns as you can. Then, when I come with the clan hunters, they will see how true your images are, and they will know why I have chosen you as the new cave painter. The old man stopped again. He was breathing hard and wheezing. Go now, he said, and remember what I have told you. Tao watched the old man walk away. Slouched over, coughing badly, he disappeared into the dark oak wood forest. Now the boy was alone with his thoughts and his doubts. Tao left Ram in the little cave and told him to stay. Then he climbed up the cliffs and walked along the top until he was above the entrance to Big Cave. Below him, the big fires blazed and he could see the camp of the clan people. He stayed in the shadows, sitting with his back against an old pine tree. As he waited, he worried about Graybeard. He had never seen his friend so thin and weak. It seemed a long time before the sun set behind the purple mountains. The crickets began to chirp, and a pair of nightjars called and swooped overhead. Tao got up, his hands shaking, his legs unsteady. He curled his bad foot around his tree limb crutch and started down the narrow ledge leading to the big cave. Far below, he could see the clan hunters, tiny figures dancing around the big fire. Their chanting and singing drifted up to him on the damp night air. They were celebrating the coming hunt of the longhorns. Some of the men wore bison robes, their heads covered with antlers and horns. Bracelets of shells and bones around their legs and ankles jingled as they danced. Others wore masks carved in the images of bears or devils to ward off the evil spirits. Tao moved cautiously, edging his way along, hiding behind the clumps of stunted evergreens growing out of the cliffside. Slowly, he made his way closer, glad that the clan people were busy celebrating and would not see him. He had just reached the cave entrance when suddenly he saw a young hunter climbing up the ledge to tend the endless flame. Quickly, Tao moved back into the shadows, pressing himself against the cliff wall. With dawdling slowness, the young hunter performed his task. He threw armfuls of wood on the fire, sending up a shower of sparks that lit up the darkness. Tao held his breath. He was in plain view as he shrank back against the side of the white cliff. Yet neither the hunter nor the clan people below seemed to notice him. As soon as the hunter was gone, Tao crept up and lit his tallow lamp from the endless flame. He took one last look around and started into the cave. He was familiar with the large room just within the entrance, for he had spent many winters here. It was empty now, and save for the flickering light coming from the endless flame, it was gray and cold. Toward the back of the room was the entrance to the long twisting passageway that led to the secret cavern. Tao hesitated. He had never been beyond this point before, and it gave him an eerie feeling to step past the opening. Holding his lamp high and limping along his wooden crutch, he started down the dark tunnel. It was damp and gloomy, and his flickering lamp cast wavering shadows on the rough gray walls. Except for the occasional sound of dripping water, there was a cold stillness like death. Tao shuffled on, trying to hurry. He wanted to paint as many images as possible before Graybeard came in with the hunters. Soon the tunnel became narrower with turns. Once, when the ceiling became too low, he got down on his hands and knees, pushing his lamp ahead of him. Then, at an abrupt turn in the tunnel, Tao's heart jumped. A huge cave lion glared down at him. It swayed back and forth as he moved his lamp, and he realized he was looking at a lone painting done by an early cave painter on the wall of this hidden tunnel. He continued on and soon came to the place where the passageway divided into two corridors. He stopped, undecided, and his heart sank. He could not remember which shoulder the shaman had touched. With a nagging doubt, he chose the one on his left. A dank, musty odor filled the air, and the trickling sound of dripping water echoed through the tunnel. Slowly, Tao limped along, holding his lamp ahead of him. Then he stopped. He was sure he had taken the wrong turn. Hurriedly, he started back, almost running, stumbling in his haste, searching for the other path. He came to a second opening. Was this the one leading to the secret cavern? He wasn't sure. He felt a dampness in the palm of his hands. His heart was pounding furiously. More confused than ever, he started down the new tunnel. He had only gone a short distance when a sharp hissing sound broke the silence, and he was left in total darkness. A drop of water from the dripping ceiling had snuffed out his lamp. For a long moment, Tao stood petrified, numb with fear. He threw down the useless lamp and with a trembling hand began to feel his way along the damp walls. Totally blind, he groped through the blackness, not even sure that he was going in the right direction. All right, so that's where we're going to stop with that today. That is not a good situation Tao has found himself in. Okay, so now you are going to go into Otis. You're going to answer your chapter 15 questions. Also, with any extra time you have and after school today, there are several of you that did not turn in all 4 things that you needed to on Friday. So I'm going to be really checking for those tomorrow. So use any extra time you have to get your work finished. So anything from Friday last week that you did not get done, I want you to get done today, okay? And remember, with your Boy the Painted Cave questions, to follow the directions, to answer in complete sentences, and if it asks you to cite text evidence, please do so. Okay, have a beautiful day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.